Okay, so when people ask you what's the greatest TV show of all time, I can imagine a lot of you are gonna at least consider Breaking Bad.
You're goddamn right.
This is a series that completely changed television and ushered in a new era of prestige shows. You kids, you might not remember yet, but back before this came out, a lot of TV was thought of as being cheap and inferior to movies. Sure, we had the odd thing like Lost, The Sopranos, and The Wire, but a lot of the time TV was seen as lesser quality. However, Breaking Bad, along with several others, helped to change the perception of how we view the medium. At its core was the tale of Walter White, who hooked in viewers with a story of his rise and fall. Here was a man who became a drug kingpin and one of the most wanted men in America. Although Walter is played up like he's almost like a hero, down to him going out in a blaze of glory, there is unfortunately a sad truth to him. When I say hero, I have to be careful with that word because, yeah, the guy is someone who is also the villain.
Spoiler alert.
Rumour video essay already, but what I mean though is that Breaking Bad is something brilliant in that it makes us root for the bad guy. However, in doing so, we miss out the sad truth and the real tragedy that there is to the character. Throughout this video, I want to go over that and discuss the most heartbreaking thing about him. So come with me as we look back on Breaking Bad and discuss the tragedy that is Walter White. Now, Walt's life changed when he was diagnosed with cancer, and we saw that he simply didn't have the money for medical care. Using his knowledge of science, he created a new kind of drug that made it the purest meth on the market. Slowly, he made more money than he'd ever dreamed of, but in doing so, he also lost his soul. Kids, women, his family and friends got killed, and it's the cost of what it takes to be the boss. However, he was strong in the notion that he was doing it for his family and that the money would help to support them when he was gone. This is something that made us side with him, as even in all that, he was doing it for something that could be seen as justifiable. I can't imagine what it would be like getting that diagnosis, and even though myself, I overwork because I want my kids to have a better life. Deep down though, sometimes I feel like Walter, and what I mean by that is that I'm doing it for myself. I get a thrill off the attention, and there is a rush from going head to head with other channels. It's friendly competition, but it keeps the stakes interesting, and I'm sure a lot of other YouTubers know what I'm talking about. Now why I bring this up is Walter also clearly gets a thrill too, which he admits during the finale. Speaking with Skylar, he says,
I have to hear one more time that you did this for the family.
I did it for me. I liked it. I was good at it.
which at the heart of it is the sad truth. Walter wants a way that he can justify his actions, and thus he pins it on his wife and family. He's working because it makes him feel important and gives him a power that he holds above others. He's not really doing it for them because if he was, then he'd stop doing it early on. Walter is someone who makes the lives worse of everyone in the show, and at the end of it, they're all ruined because of him. Still though, he's addicted to the rush, which is similar to the addicts that also buy his product. Deep down, I also think he wants to be known and discovered, and this is so he can achieve some type of fame. Serial killers often do this too, and a lot of them actually want to get caught. This has been diagnosed as them wanting to be admired, and we only have to look at real-world examples to help back this claim up. BTK shares a similar look to Walter White, but the similarities between the two go much deeper. His killing spree terrorized people for 20 years, and he even left clues at the scene of the crime. However, Dennis Rader, he managed to stop himself, and it got to the point it was considered a cold case. For over a decade, Rader stayed his desires, but then he started communicating with the police. He sent them packages of the victims' belongings and letters telling them that they were never going to catch him. In the end, this is what got him caught because he sent a floppy disk to the police filled up with evidence. Unbeknownst to him, these disks contained metadata, which was then tracked to his church computer. On this, it had last modified by Dennis, and thus it was pretty much an open and shut case. However, it's clear that Rader wanted to be caught, and this is why he kept in communication with the police. If you asked him, I doubt he'd admit it though, which is something that's also similar to Walt. However, there's a key scene that cements this as a fact, and it goes down at Hank's and Marie's. During a party, Hank seems relieved he's finally caught Heisenberg, and he starts discussing why he thinks it's Gale.
This guy, Gale Bedecker, he was eccentric. I mean, real character, you know.
Who was he?
He was a meth cook.
He was a meth chef. I mean, we're talking 5 stars, candles, and white tablecloth, you know. I can't believe this word's gonna come out of my mouth, but he was a genius.
Hank,
Not to tell you your business, but I'm not sure I agree. I mean, there was no reasoning, no deductions in those pages. So to my eye, all this brilliance looks like nothing more than just simple rote copying. This genius of yours, maybe he's still out there.
It's this that makes Hank reopen the case, even though Walt had already got away with it. The fact is, he was enjoying the chase and felt like he could taunt the authorities and get away with it. This arrogance is seen earlier in the show when Walt's being diagnosed as being in a fugue state. Wandering around, he's eventually put in front of a psychiatrist, and it's at this point that he reveals the truth. After learning the conversations completely confidential, he admits the entire thing was just one big act. He says that he likes to live life on the edge and tiptoes around telling the guy the truth. In reality, he just wants to be noticed and at least have some recognition for what it is he's built. This idea of recognition also ties into our next point, which are involving his friends from Grey Matter. As we learn through the show, he was integral to their success and someone who was the real brains behind most of it. However, he ended up just walking away and took a job at a high school purely because of his pride. In season 1 though, they offer him a way out and then say that they'll give him a job at their company. They'll also give him enough money to cover his treatment and help out his family in whatever way they can. However, it's in this idea of a job, his pride steps in and he then turns them down. He refuses to be a lackey and work for someone else because his pride has him have to be the one that's in control. This is something that, though is subconscious, also leads into him killing Gus. With Gus, he also had safety and security and a lab that would keep him out of harm's way. Let's be honest, their operation was perfect, but Walt ended up taking it down. In order to do this, he had to poison a kid, but he didn't care because it's what made him win.
I won.
He was willing to let those around him suffer because he cared more about what he wanted than he cared about their lives. This is seen perfectly in the plane crash, which he somewhat inadvertently caused. Letting Jane die because it gave him back Jesse, this led to the Wayfarer 515 air disaster. This killed 167 people, but the fact it's out of his mind symbolically shows his downfall. I don't think it's any coincidence that the bear in the pool also has a burn on its face like what happens with Gus. This foreshadowing shows that the two are linked and that it's Walt's selfishness that causes both issues. His pride is sadly what leads to his downfall, and it's also the need to be known. Walt was pathetic and felt like he failed in life and had to ruin other people just to show he was the best. Unfortunately, it kind of speaks to the flaws in us all and what might happen if we stopped having empathy. When speaking on the character, Vince Gilligan summed it up and said the following when discussing Walt. I think what Ikuru and Breaking Bad share in a sense is the idea that if we found out the exact expiration date on our lives, if we found out when we were going to be checking out, that would free us up to do bold and courageous things, good or bad. Now what makes this sadder is that Walt was really fucked either way. Say he hadn't taken this path, we have a fair idea of what his life would look like. The medical bills would bankrupt the family or probably not have been able to be paid. During this, he'd have to work 2 jobs, the both of which would fill him with resentment. On top of this, they also had a kid on the way, which would likely grow up poor and without a dad. No matter what choice he made, his life was fucked, and that's a true tragedy at the heart of Walter White. He could either do the good thing, which would lead to a bad outcome, or do the bad thing that might lead to good. In the end, though, both paths led to misery, with the latter ruining everyone around him. Those final few episodes paint him out as a desperate man who's about to die sad and alone. Just him offering to pay the vacuum guy $10,000 to stay a little longer. It's absolutely devastating to watch.
Stay a little longer.
I got a long trip ahead of me.
I'll give you another $10,000.
In the end, though, I think the saddest scene's him watching his son for the very last time. He doesn't get to speak to him or let him know how much he cares. There's just a sense of abandonment and him losing everything. Though Walter dies in what seems like a smile, I actually think there's a deeper layer to it. This is a man realizing he got what he deserved, and all of his choices have led to this moment. However, he's proud of what he accomplished, but in this pride also was his downfall. It's a sad truth about Walter White, and it's the reason he remains one of the most fascinating characters ever. I think we can all see a bit of ourselves within him, but it's when choices come into it that we start to disagree. Hope at least you guys wouldn't take the path that he did, because he seems like someone who wouldn't hit the thumbs up. However, you might start to question what you would do if you were him, so there's at least that layer of doubt that's within you. It's something that makes Breaking Bad one of the best shows ever, and huge thank you for sitting through the video. And of course, love to hear your thoughts, so make sure you drop them in the comments below, and if you want to support the channel as a member of the Spoiler Society, then please click the join button. You get early access to videos like this every week, and it goes such a long way to helping us out. If you want to get some heavy spoilers merch, we've also got a t-shirt line located below the video that will let you pick up all kinds of tops like our Theory Time ones, House of Dragon stuff, Marvel tees and more. We drop new designs on there all the time too, so definitely keep an eye out. Now if you want something else to watch, you've got a video on screen right now going over all the details and hidden things in No Country for Old Men. It's one of the best videos on the channel, and huge thank you to everyone who's checked it out. I really appreciate all the support you guys are giving me. But out of the way, huge thank you for sitting through this video. I've been your host Paul, and I'll see you next time. Take care, Isa.